exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, Nick, have you done any more research on Unity as the tool?
Not quite. I do have some programs from that Humble bundle I bought.
Okay.
That has a lot in Unity, so I'm excited to dig in on that. But
that's cool. Like, I'm looking forward to the final project, right? It's going to be Unity.
I'm excited because, like, post-project, I know I got to do my school bit mostly on my own, but post-project, I actually have people ready to help. So I have a friend who wants to get back into programming for it. I have a friend who wants to design all the art assets for it because she's going to school for...
Oh, it's that power couple.
Yeah. So I've got a team of 4 now waiting to see where it goes.
Look at that.
That's exciting.
That is exciting. You got to be honest. It's exciting.
Oh, before I forget again, anyone who can hear me, I'm going to put this in one of the Slacks, but Humble Bundle has another bundle. This one is more generic code stuff.
Okay.
So if anyone is interested in really discounted like textbooks, you can get hundreds of dollars worth of books for like $20. So
that is awesome.
It is worth taking a peek at the very least. This one isn't as specialized as the one I've shared in the past.
And I almost feel like there's so many, I've got tons of books over the years that I've, every once in a while I read, but I'm so into the videos now. I like to watch someone do it. Someone's held it in front of me.
I prefer a mix of both, but like these books, like Humble Bundle just keeps bundles going where it's like this, it shows you the prices of these on market and how much you pay, and most of the money you pay, part of it goes to charities as well.
Okay, that's awesome.
That part's cool.
Sweet.
Joe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, time's already up. I'm having a hard time pulling it. It says that something about overriding merge. You think during next break you can help me?
Well, you can't. What you cannot do is do anything in. I'm going to pull this up. In instructor examples, right? You shouldn't be writing anything in instructor examples. I'm assuming maybe you might have done a merge there. You created instructor examples or not?
I did not create an instructor example.
Oh, okay. Then I take that all back. And let's see. I'm just curious what it could be. The only updates that I did do since then was I just renamed the lab folders. There was a few labs, and I renamed or added one that I think based on what the morning was and what the afternoon is better suited for the afternoon. And then I just put additional bonus ones, this bonus open weather and the super bonus. So once we get through the material, I was going to hit everyone up to do the tacos one, and then if you're done with that and you wanted more open weather, and if you want to take it even further, do this bonus React geocrates, which requires some research on doing it.
Okay.
So I don't know if by doing that caused any sort of conflict. So what I'd ask now is maybe just do this. If everyone does a git pull from the class repo, see if you get any conflicts. As long as you're not editing anything that I'm doing, and once again, you might have decided to start working on the bonus, and that might throw you off, and might have messed it up.
Yeah, I came up with a merge conflict.
You're getting merge. What is it telling you is the merge?
.ds store, unit2.ds store.
Unit 3.
I'm getting the same error.
Unit 3 DS. Oh, so DS store, you know what I don't think these things have is, I'm just trying to see where the DS.
Yeah, I'm getting the exact same error.
So DS store. Can you paste can you just take
paste
that snippet? Yeah, just paste the error in the Slack channel.
Sure, gladly.
Oh yeah, I see. Unit2_DS store. Oh, that's the conflict. So that shouldn't have. Oh, that's crazy.
It won't let us pull without removing the conflict.
Got it. So even if you close the error, did it open up a new window? Like here's a merge conflict, merge it. Did it open it up in Atom or whatever utility?
Yes, I opened it
Close
up.
it. If it open it up, like if it opens up a README file or some sort of merge file in Atom or whatever other tool, close that tool. It's waiting for you to do something. If you close the tool, it should get past the error. Because this is all Unit 2 stuff. Oh, it's Unit 2 stuff because I pushed up that, I think I pushed up the lab. What DS Store is, does anyone know what DS Store is? Shouldn't have been pushed up.
Document storage.
It's a Mac thing. It's like on your Mac, you have this DS Store file. It's a hidden folder, I believe, that just kind of keeps track of the folder structure. And so if you don't do like a git ignore, so let me take a look here. See how they have git ignore files here? If the git ignore sometimes, see how it has this DS store there, right? It has a DS store in the git ignore files that are created by Create React app.
Joe, can you share your screen?
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. Thought I was sharing this particular screen. Let me see. Desktop 2? Yeah. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. This is from the Create React app, right? It creates all the stuff. It creates a git ignore. This particular git ignore right here has this DS store, and it's just a local file. If there's any merge conflict in that, I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. So if you X'd out of whatever it's saying, like, hey, there's a merge conflict, and it opens up Atom, and it's like, deal with it, and you just X out of it, should let you then download it. Like, it should let you do a successful git pull. So if you close out of,
I made sure I closed out of everything, and I'm still not getting able to do the pull.
are you still getting a DS store thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just see real quick how we can figure out the issue with the DS store. DS store causing merge conflict. Unless I go into, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into Unit 2, and it told us the folder too, right? It said Unit 2, week 11, day 3. So Unit 2, week 11, day 3. I'm just going to see if there's a unit. Am I in the right one? Oh, no, this is a completely different one. All right. This is not the one. Let me get out of this altogether. That wasn't the one at all. Here we go. May, right? Okay. Open this up. Oh, you see here too? You see this unit store? It's being pushed up here. I'm going to get rid of, first I'm going to get rid of that one. It's, once again, we should never see this store file in here. So I'm going to get rid of that. Delete it. Delete DS store. Awesome. Get rid of that one. And then I'll go to Unit 2 just from based on what Wilner did. Week 11, day 3, DS store right here. I'm going to delete it. Delete it. All right. Now see if you can do a git pull. See if I'll get rid of that. There's this one other one here.
I'm able to do it now.
Oh, sweet. Okay. So that was it. I just got rid of the problem child. Usually there is at the very top level, like right here, very top level. If there's no git ignore here at the top level, I mean, you can have them anywhere, but if there's a git ignore file here at the very, very top level of the repo, it'll ignore everything. So I don't know why it wasn't, but I know I can now just go into any one of these things, find the git ignore file. I could copy this over you know, and put it there, which I'll do just to make sure none of this stuff ever gets pushed up again. Okay. Is everyone else good? Just want to make sure. Good to go. So I'm just going to put here, good to go. Oh, SpongeBob SquarePants. So let me know you're good to go. We'll start going. Good old SpongeBob. First time I saw SpongeBob SquarePants, I was like, this isn't for kids. I was like, that's for adults. That's like watching a Family Guy or something. Like, stuff going on in there. Oh no, what's the other one? South Park. South Park is not for kids. Clearly South Park is for adults. All right. So I'm opening up, just gonna split screen it. So I'll have the app here, and then what we're doing over here. So let me see. So it looks like maybe it's frozen. I don't know if we have to restart it. Can I do this? Okay. Just gonna stop the app. Close this. Let me see, let me restart it. npm start. Let me restart my app. No, I think it was running on something else. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. And we'll jump right in. That's really odd. Oh. Failed to load, insufficient, error, insufficient resources. That's the first time I'm seeing that. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to activity monitor. I'm going to stop all instances of node. So CPU, node. Oh, there you go. What's happening? Have all these instances of node running, and I'm probably running out of resources on my machine.
In your terminal, you can see them in the corner and stop whichever one you want.
Oh, serious. Okay, cool. In the terminal.
In your compiler that you're using.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Right. Let me start this up there right now. Yeah. PW. What happened? All right. Just drop down documents. PI. Let's see. Let's see. Remote. Unit 3. 12. 3. Constructors. React. Okay. npm start. All right. One more time. Should start. Okay. So we had left off. This should, by the time I finish with my little speech, this should. Use the load URL because it validates the following policy. Wow. That's very odd here. Let's see. Okay, all right. Now we're working. All right. Don't know what the hell is going on. Weird stuff. Okay. Still getting this in resources. I don't really know, but I'm going to go here and see. I think I had gotten an error before that stated something about you couldn't load objects. Here we go. Objects are not valid as React children. Okay, this is kind of where we left off, and I realized my oversight with this is this. When I did the mapping here, right? Map, D is the object, right? So in the map, D is an object, right? because the array of crimes is an array of objects, correct? If it's an array of objects and I'm returning here in the JSX, what am I actually returning? What am I trying to put out on the screen? On line 47. Look at line 47. Go through each thing. H5, right? This thing is the opening. This is the opening. This is the closing, right? I got a key to assign. I noticed we assigned keys previously, or Ryan had walked you through assigning the keys. What's this? What does D right here on line 47 represent?
The data?
Yeah. Well, it represents the data. And what is the data? How about that?
The value.
Okay. So look at this. On line 44, what did I say there? And so if I ask, what is D? What is D right now?
An object.
Yeah. You can't output objects onto the screen. What do you put out onto the screen? If I have an object with multiple key value pairs, you want to elicit one of the values from the object, right? So you want to like call a key to get back its value. What I'm trying to do here is output the actual object itself within an H5 HTML element. You can't do that.
Isn't that what you use .map for, though? You're trying to pull crimes.
Well, what you're trying to do with map is to touch every element. So when you use map is meant to touch every element and to mutate the element in some sort of way or do something. That's the idea. And return every element simultaneously, right? Look at it, touch it, do something, return it. That's its goal. I don't want to return the object. I want to return a value from the object. That's what I'm doing. Because crimes is already an array, so I don't really need to like create a new array and send back a new array. That's just two arrays, right? With the same things. What I wanted here was a value. So if I go back to the actual data, remember the data that was returned in the JSON? This is the data. If there's something that I want here from the data, that's the property that I state I want here. That's the problem. I can't return an object. I have to return a key from that object, okay? This return here will return a React object. React is doing something under the hood here. It's doing a React object, but this D here cannot be an object in an HTML element. It has to be a property. So if I wanted to, I could take a look at maybe the primary type here. See, primary type? So let me do, D dot primary type. Let me save that. Let me go back here. Let me refresh. And look, now it's working. Now I'm getting just the primary types. That's all I'm getting. Okay? Really all I did.
I'm not getting anything.
Okay, I'm going to do this. Watch. I think maybe because on line 56 also, watch. If I get rid of crimes on line 56 and save it, we only have crimes. Okay? So let me slack out the loop. So we have the loop, and we know that the loop is working fine, right? So let me do this. So make sure that your loop is here. It's in the render. That's the code for the loop. Okay? It's also console logging this .state.crime. So in your console log, you should at some point in time see it. You should see it. If I refresh this right now, I will see in my console logs all the data right here. Okay? In order to see that data here, I have to elicit this array to be kind of shown on the screen, the data in there. And you can do that in React using the curly braces and calling the array of React objects. So calling crimes like this is calling an array of React objects. Okay? What I mean by an array of React objects is this is render, and render has, this is the original data call where we're getting all the data, right? So this is the same data that we saw here. All the data here is here. Yeah.
You can't see your screen.
Well, you guys can't see it? Let me see what happened. I'm looking for the, oh, yeah, I don't know what happened. Let me share it again. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties here. All right, can you see it, Paul?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Cool. So this particular one here has all of the objects, right, that we saw in the JSON, this JSON right here. And then this console log, the one that says this is crimes after map, crimes after map. If I expand that, does that look, does this, right? Let me select that out. Does this look like this? All right, this is the actual object itself. Do they look different?
Mine is different.
Yes. Okay. And the reason is the one that I posted is a mutation. It's a React returning JSX. So crimes is an array. So let me put here, I'll just put a note in here that crimes will be an array of React elements, okay? Because we are returning JSX. Isn't this JSX right there? You return JSX, that's not objects, that's JSX, and JSX is its own thing, okay? So the fact that this is an array of JSX objects, right, React elements, I'll put here, JSX objects or so, because it's that, we can render that array here on line 58. React is just intuitive to know that this is an array of React objects, and because it is, it'll do its thing and like loop through it and render it. That's what that does. Okay. And we should see this. Is everyone seeing this? Render all the crime. So I'm going to put here able to render, and then I'll just ask everyone to like get on board with it. All the primary types. Put a thumbs up if you did that, if you can. There we go. Okay. Every time I do my little SpongeBob or whatever, no one can ever click on it. So it's more like just a placeholder of someone add something there. Cool. Oh, so Chrissy, you're getting an error?
Yeah, I'm getting a CSS condition rule.log is not a function.
CSS condition rule .log, because I don't see anything in here that represents like CSS.
It's
at
really
all.
strange. It's like in my browser, it's highlighting line 32, which is like commented out.
Oh, you can have comments, whatever you do. You can't put comments in here, whatever. Like we can't do that.
I just copied and pasted because I couldn't get pull either. So I just copied and pasted your app.js file into mine.
Okay.
So it's your code, but it doesn't like it for some reason.
Doesn't like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to push up what I have. So I'm going to do git add Git commit, just in case there's anything you might be missing.
Thank you.
Updated primes app.js, git push, git pull, because I removed those things earlier, so I got to pull. This is the message I was talking about, the error with the merge. It's telling me I got a merge conflict. I really don't have a merge conflict. So I'm going to do a git push. All right. I pushed it up. Chrissy, take a look. Maybe recopy my app.js and do it one more time. Just in case there was any changes that you don't have. Just copy, paste it, see if it works.
Okay.
Because I don't see where this CSS conditional rule is coming from, because this seems to work. And everyone else looks like they're on board. I only got 4 clicks there, able to render the primary types. So either I'm going to assume several people can't and just aren't bringing it to my attention, or they can, they're just not clicking on the thing.
Yeah, that seemed to work. I'm getting what you have now.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So there's, it's one of those things, Chrissy, like something's different. I don't know what it is. I haven't seen that error, but we could fix it, move on real quick. And like, if we had time to look at every error, I'd love to look at all the errors, but I want to kind of get us through this particular lecture. So I'm going to move on now. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is sure thing, Charles. I am going to move on to the fact that we have this. This is good. That's what we wanted, right? I'm going to go ahead and refactor the fetch to meet that async functionality that was in the lecture. So whatever in the lecture is really what we're going to be building out. And I don't want there to be too many discrepancies. So in the lecture, async does what? So if I put async here, what does that do? Who can tell me what async here allows this method to do for this function?
It changes the flow of how the code executes.
Sweet. In what regards?
Slows it down.
Makes it asynchronous.
Okay. I like that. Or it handles the async functionality of it, trying to make it more synchronous. That's really what it does. And the reason why is we have this fetch call, right? In this code, of all the code that's here, right? It's really line 31 to 14. All this other stuff is just comments, right? That's just comments that are in here. All of that, lines 21 to truly like 30, is making the fetch call. What here is kind of like doesn't return something, and we kind of want to wait or use the await keyword for. Which one would we use the await keyword on? Okay. How about this? What if I did, and once again, this is going to require just a little bit of refactoring, okay? What if I did this? Const crimes is equal to await, okay? What if I did that? I'm just going to comment this out just for right now. What is this doing? Anyone know what that does? And it is part of this async. Go ahead, Chrissy.
Waiting for the data to be returned.
Sure, right? It's trying to make this function act synchronously, or dealing with the async functionality of JavaScript, and it's saying like, hey, I'm going to wait until something happens, and I'm going to wait for you to return that value to crimes. Because without the word await, if I removed await and I just did this, do you think crimes would ever have anything? Do you think crimes would ever be populated with a value? Do you think fetch is going to return something to crimes? You can shake your head. I can see everyone. No, yes, yeah.
I mean, the answer is
Mace
no.
is like going in circles because I'm not sure, right? What's that?
If you took async away.
Yeah. What do I get back? What is crimes right now? We can test this out. We can test. Why don't we do this? Why don't I console log and say this is crimes. This is crimes in get. Oh, here we better yet, right? Get crimes, and then say this is crimes. Okay. So now I know where it's coming from. Get crimes, right? And I'll just do crimes. Let's see what happens. Do this. Run this. Oh, I have to start my server because I shut it down. npm start. Okay, just gonna flip on any second. This is crimes. What did I get back? What is this? I mean, what does it say it is? How about that?
A promise.
Yeah, it's a promise and it's pending, right? And remember I said here on line 17, fetch returns a promise object, right? All that's in crimes now is this promise object, and other code would run, and we're not waiting for this thing to finish. It's like we're waiting for this thing to resolve a promise. And remember when I said when something is, I promise if you do this, then I will do that, right? That's the whole promise then structure, right? So after fetch is run, after the promise is run, then it does something else. So nothing gets stored in here. Even if I put a dot then here, nothing would get stored in crimes. Even if I extended this to say dot then, you know, res.json. Even if I did this, just to see what happens, still, it's just a promise. But I'm like, hey, doesn't the res do something and doesn't the data? But it doesn't. That's not how this stuff works. So we need async here. I'm sorry, we need a wait. A wait here is going to tell it, look, this is crimes. Wow, get crimes, this is crimes, look. Is that not the data? That looks like that's the data, right?
Right.
Sweet. So I no longer even need, like, I need to pass it here because it needs to do its thing. But this runs and we wait for that to finish. So let me just state that the below console log won't run until the above promise is resolved. Okay? Hence the await keyword. Without the await keyword, it would jump right to crimes and crimes would return a promise object, and we can't really do anything with the promise object. Okay? So that's what that's doing. Now in the lecture, they split these two up. So this is crimes, right? And then it also does const crimes JSON is equal to await dot crimes dot JSON. Okay? I'm just gonna get rid of this. Oh, I'm sorry, is await is equal, await, that's it. Jumping ahead, okay? That's what it is. It's also surrounded with a try catch block. I think for right now, we could probably just get around that instead of adding some more code. I think this should do it for us, except there's one more thing that needs to get done. What needs to get done now? I have the data. What must I do with the data? What's our ultimate goal? To see it on the screen? To see it on the screen, what do I have to do? What's happening here?
Render.
What?
To render it?
We got to render it, but if I'm rendering it in state and state has not been updated, what do I have to do?
Set state.
Set state. Cool? So that means here on this line, I could actually just run this dot set state, and then we could state that crimes is now crimes JSON. Boom, and now we're back in action, okay? I'm gonna get rid of this code here. That was the old way of doing fetch where we broke it down into like fetch and then two thens. This is the async way of doing it, okay? The async way and using a wait to do it. It's a really cool feature. I think it came out with ES8. I think it was an ES8 thing, okay? So just remember, async treats any function as a function where things that return promises, we can use the await keyword to wait until the promise is resolved, okay? And I have that here. Load console won't run until the above promise is resolved, hence the await keyword. You'll always see async and await used synonymously. It's just a new way of doing it. The other way of doing it with the fetch, with the two thens, is a perfect, legit instance of doing it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. I do it all the time. But await and async are this new way of doing it, and so you're going to see it. So you might as well just kind of be like, all right, this is how I should be doing it instead of the other way, okay? And now we have the data inside of state, and now we have the data on the screen, right? Cool. What we need to do now is make another component for the actual crimes themselves. These individual crimes should be their own thing. They shouldn't be, you know, just created here in app. App is just like, I will output as many crimes as you want, but those crimes themselves might have, you know, anything from one property to any one of these properties. Any one of these could be included in it. And there could be this unique structure to the crime. Could be a whole page where every one of these things is uniquely positioned with a Google map, whatever, with latitudes and longitudes. So it says, you know, this individual thing here that you output as an H5 piece of text, that should really be its own component, because it could be a really complicated thing in and of itself, okay? Which means we should create another component, right? Now, when we create components, usually when I do it or I see them done, I usually do it in a folder. So if I create a new folder at the React Ajax crimes level, right? So this is the app, and inside of that, I'm going to create something called components. That's it. That's all I did was create a components, right? In the lab, they have creating a folder called crime lists and then adding inside of it index.js and crimes.js. We could do that. So here, we could create another folder and say crimes list, okay? This is kind of following suit of when I showed you the code on Code Sandbox. Remember the code on Code Sandbox that I had shown you earlier? Right? Let me just see. The way that students structured their code, when you start to have a lot of things, see, is it this? Here we go. When you have a lot of components, you start structuring them like this in a components folder, and then here as browse, delete. And the only thing that my oversight right now is it wouldn't have gone necessarily in the top level folder. It should have been put into the SRC folder. That was my bad. So I'm just going to take this folder. I am going to cut it and put it in SRC. So I'm just going to paste it there, get it out of there. All right? So I have it here. Shouldn't be there, so I'm going to delete that there. Move that to trash. And now this is how it looks, okay? Go back to our app. Everything's still working in the app. So all I did was create this components folder inside of the SRC folder. Our app really wants to access everything that's inside of src, not outside of it. So we don't really want to put things outside of it. Okay? Cool. We don't need to create a CSS file right now. So I'm just going to do this. Right-click, go New File. And it says here to, create an index.js file. So I'm going to call it, I'm going to actually file it. Let's just do this, index.js. I won't have too many more detours where I'm changing what's in the lecture. Okay. And in here, we got to import React from React, right? We also need to import React. Actually, no, we're just going to import React because I can see what's going on here. I import React, and then I'm going to create a functional component. Create a React functional component, okay? A functional component doesn't or cannot contain state. So I'm going to do const crimes list is equal to that. And then I'm just going to export default crimes list. Okay? That's it. Last thing I want to do here is just return an H4 that has or that says crimes. We'll do something later when we get the data to it. Okay? It's a really basic component. All we did was create the most dumbed down version of component, which is a functional component. And functional components can't have constructors. In the newest version of React, they can leverage something called hooks. It's like the biggest thing out there. Everyone talks about hooks, hooks, hooks. It's the newest thing with React. And hooks allow functional components to access state or create state without the need to create a constructor and super and turn this thing into a class. We're not going to do that. We're going to leave it like this. Okay?
So I've got a little bit of an issue. I'm still trying in my app.js file. So I've done everything that you've done here, but in my app.js file on my page, I'm getting unhandled rejection. Crimes.json is not a function.
Crimes.json.
Crimes.json. So I think it's coming from line 20, my line 22. So
this one right here?
Yeah.
So do you have both of these lines right here in that sequence?
Const.
I'm just going to expand it so that they're on maybe one line so you could see. Oh, I can't. This thing folds out.
So await fetch. Yeah, it appears so. Yeah.
You do. All right, do me a favor. Slack the whole get crimes method. Just put it in Slack. Put the backticks, 3 backticks, paste that, backticks, 3 backticks, and let me see what it says. All right, so get crimes async. Got it, got it, got it. Crimes here, right? Crimes await fetch crimes. Oh, because you called it crimes.json. Await. I don't know if the space here has anything to do with it, but I don't think maybe the space between these two has anything to do with it, but it might.
Okay.
I don't think so though, but crimes dot.
It's supposed to be crimes.
Oh no, this is not Jason, it's JSON. Look in mine.
Oh man.
See that? Yeah, it's okay. And it happens.
Is it lowercase? Oh no, it is uppercase. Okay.
No, here, look. Look at my line 22. That's my line 22. And your line 22 that's trying to emulate what I'm doing has it as crimes dot uppercase JSON, as in like Jason, you called it. Okay?
Got it. Crimes.
Yeah, if that's a problem, I'm just going to, I'll paste my code. So, if anything doesn't work, just paste that code.
Okay.
That is the get crimes async method. Should get you on board. But yeah, that's just a typo. Okay.
All right.
Good. Sweet.
Well, it's still not. I'm not saying any of the crimes, the list of all the crimes like you had.
Okay, but you're not seeing any errors right now,
Oh wait,
right?
wait. There they are. They just showed up.
Sweet. There you go, Mace.
All right.
You want your crimes too, right?
Yeah.
It ain't fun unless you get some crimes. All right. So now that we've created this component really needs to be run in app, right? App should import this component. App should be the one that works with that component. So here we could do import crimes list, right? From /components, because that's the folder that I created. Crimes list, and it should export. And I got to put this in single quotes here, right? Boop, boop, boop. That should. Did I put two? I put two single quotes here. Let me get rid of that. All right. This is all I did to import it. Okay? I just pasted what I did there. Your structure is the same as my structure, which is this, and I'll just take a boom. I'm just going to copy what is okay. That's not the picture I wanted, so I'm going to get rid of that one. Just wanted save changes, right? Oh my God, so annoying. Things don't work out how you want them. So delete message, delete. All right, so I'm going to take just, I think it's this. Let me see if it's not. If it's the same one, there you go. That's how my source folder looks. And you see what the crimes is. And so that's it. Everything should be working. Once again, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just creating things and importing them, but I haven't made any structural changes right now. Okay? Where we want to do is, remember when we were here, when we were outputting just this H5, remember we just exported that H5? So on my line 45, I have this. So I'm going to convert that, okay, into something else. Okay, because we would have needed to kind of loop over all the crimes. Okay. Let me just see here, because it looks like crimes list, prompts.crimes. All right. We're no longer, here we go, I get it. We're no longer going to do the looping construct here in render, okay? I was demoing what we would do with the data if we had the data, but this looping construct now is going to be done in a child component, okay? So instead of, on line 54, instead of outputting crimes, right, I am going to output here a component called crimes list. I'm going to give it a property called crimes, and it is going to get the array of data stored in the crimes array, right? And because it's a component, I have to close it using a self-closing tag, okay? Now what we see on the screen are two crimes, crimes, and the first crimes is coming from app, crimes coming from app. It should update if I save this. And this crimes is coming from the crimes component, okay? we don't really need this anymore. We don't really need the crimes here. I mean, we could use it as a title. We could easily just say, you know, list of crimes. You know, we could do that. And then once we get all our crimes, we could see that they're a list of crimes, and that'll be cool. What we need to do now is go inside of the crimes list because it now has all the data, right? Crimes is an array. We saw it up here. We looped through this thing. Crimes was an array. And now we want to kind of output that array. Okay? Now, I don't need it to run and render anymore, so I can actually maybe cut this out. I can take it with me now. How about that? I could cut this out and put it in index. And in index, I'm sorry, yeah, in the crimes list, I can paste it in here. And we're going to get a bunch of errors because we have a few things that we need to do. Here's the issue. I'm getting an issue here that says crimes is not defined in app. Okay, I get it. So on line 46 in app, let me see, it's screaming at me, line 46. Sure, crimes isn't defined because I was console logging it. So I can get rid of line 46. Let's get rid of line 46. Okay. I get rid of the one error that was preventing me from getting to the other error that is really relevant here. Can anyone tell me what the problem here with this error is? Read what the error says, take a look at the component, and you tell me what you think is the problem. I pasted it. Can anyone tell me what they think the problem is? And I'll give you a hint. Has to do with the difference between a functional component and a stateful component.
This is a function, well, the file that we are in
Sure.
is a function and it does not have a state.
Correct, right? Awesome. So where is crimes data coming from? What would I precede this with in order to get access? Because the question is, does crimes list have access to data right now? Is something being passed to it? I'll go back to the app so you can tell me. Take a look at line 49.
A prop.
Yeah, so it's getting crimes the prop passed to it, right? So if I go to index now, and in crimes list, as this, when I create this, I'm going to give it an argument of props. And instead of doing this dot state, I just do props. Okay? Because remember, this component here is really like a function. It's this wacky thing like, is it an HTML element or is it a function? And you know what? The answer is it's both an HTML element and a function. And in order to pass values to this component function thing, we pass them as props. When we create the functional component, we just put this placeholder here for props, and then we're able to access all the props that are passed down. Because props, what data type is props? Anyone tell me? If you don't know, console log props in crimes list, and you tell me what it is.
Pretty.
What's that?
Just properties.
Okay, so what data type is it? A thing that has properties and values is what?
Object.
An object, right? Yeah, I just want to be clear. Like when we see props, we know what we're dealing with. So if props is an object, then crimes is a key that returns back an array, and we can loop over that array and do something with that array, right? It's ultimately what we're doing in here. Okay? So instead of doing crimes here and returning crimes, I'm going to say, this is really a crimes list. I mean, this is list of crimes. We'll just call it crimes list here. And then I am going to give it a UL. This is going to break too. I'll explain why in just 1 second. And I'm going to try to output crimes. Now remember, crimes is this variable right here, right? Could have used the const here because this thing isn't changing. I just created it that way. There's an issue here. What do you think the issue is? Can you tell me what's wrong with this return? It's one of the rules of JSX. It's a JSX thing.
You didn't wrap it in a container.
Yes. So one of the rules of JSX is that it can only return a single parent element. That single parent element can contain as many divs, article tags, H1s, ULs, LIs, you name it. It could contain a million things, but it can only contain a single parent thing. If it doesn't have this single parent thing, it breaks. You can never, ever, never put multiple things in here that aren't nested. Okay? And if this works, look what we got on the screen. All of our crimes, right? Now they put crimes description. I put primary type. We could change this from primary type to crimes description. Now I'm going to also, on line 7, since it is a UL that we're appending, right? Instead of an H5, these should probably be what? LIs, right? Makes more sense. You can see the visual representation of the data has changed, right? An H5 will visually represent itself different via CSS than an LI, and that's what's happened. There's no more spaces really between them like there were before. It's pushed over. Does anyone know why it's like pushed over a little bit and not centered? Any idea? Okay, so if I highlighted it, what pushes it over?
The bullet points.
Well, not just the bullet points, but what's the green that encompasses the bullet points?
Padding.
Padding, right? So this thing has padding. Because it has padding, it's pushing everything over. So we'd have to get rid of the padding and then get rid of the bullet points. So there's a few things we can do, right, to get rid of all this stuff. I'm just showing you that's what's happening. If we wanted to get rid of all this stuff, we could create a CSS file here, right? Or maybe I could call this, I don't know, style.css or crimes list CSS. Forget what they wanted us to create in the first place. I think it was maybe a crime CSS. I'm just going to do this. Crimes.css, right? Now I could put here, I don't know, UL, padding 0. But I have to import that now into index. And I can see how to import it if I look at app. Look how app imports its CSS, just like that, right? I could easily do that in index. That's just import, single quotes, dot, and the name of the CSS file. All right, well, that seems pretty easy. Import, single quotes, dot, and the name of the CSS file, which is crimes.css. Let's see. Look, it removed the thing, right? And because we got rid of the padding, we also do not see the dots. The list style type is gone too, okay? Hanging away here, filling out our thing.
Did you have to export your CSS file?
No, the CSS file does not need any exports.
Okay.
You just do it like this, add your CSS. There is this, and I think we may or may not get into it, but there is this concept. You know how like when you first learned in Unit 1 that you should separate JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, right? They should be in their own separate files. Well, when React came out, they combined HTML and JavaScript. And so people are like, whoa, what the hell, dude? Like, you're supposed to separate them. And React's like, well, I don't know. Kind of like HTML and JavaScript. They all could work together. The same is with like CSS too. And the idea is, in order for these components to be their own unique thing, where they can like render specific data given standard input, return standard output. If some of that standard output is styling, then it makes sense to get the styling as close to the component as possible. So truly, all I would need to do is export or copy this crimes list folder, put it into another project, import it, and the component itself would be styled just as it needs to be, right? I don't need to go to like the main style CSS and like copy and paste and do things. I wouldn't need to do that. This would suffice. This thing would know all about this thing and you wouldn't need to do anything else, okay? Now, I want to do one more thing here. We got to do one. I just want to bang this out before we take any break because we're almost really close to the end. I want to add a delete button to delete one of these things, okay? And so the question is, how would we delete something here? What do you think the process is to delete something? Or at least to pass down the functionality, to pretend or emulate that it would be deleted. What do you think it needs? An individual element that when I click on it, it should be deleted, correct? What do you think it needs?
A button.
Right, exactly. Like this thing, this li, could also contain within it a button. So I could do this, like here's our li, and I'm gonna put the li in the bottom there. And let's do this. I'm gonna put a button. May not do it like this, but you know, this is how it is in the lecture. So I'm gonna, once again, still try to stay on track with the lecture. Do props, and then an on-click event that calls something, right? What's it gonna call? Props dot delete item. Okay? And it'll say this, delete button. All right, see the delete? Boop, boop, boop. Now it doesn't do anything. Why doesn't it do anything? I can click on this thing all day. What's missing? What is that?
The helper function?
Yeah. And where is the helper function coming from? Based on the design, we haven't created the helper function. But intuitively, based on this design, if you were only looking at crimes list, what is your assumption?
That it would be in the constructor? Well, I don't know.
It would be in the crimes list as a child, right?
Yeah, so it'd have to be in the parent.
Parent. Once again, where is crimes coming from? It's being passed down as a prop. Anytime you see props, it's coming from the parent. So there should be a delete method in the parent, right? So if I go to app here, we just have to create a delete method. Like we could put this anywhere we want. You know, maybe I'll do this. Here, I'll just do it above render so I can keep it clean because there's a lot of comments all over the place. So if we're in the parent component and we wanted to do this, we could just do this, delete item, right? And I'm just gonna console log, and once again, we always play the game like delete button working, right? We create this delete. Okay, console log that we're creating that delete button inside of app. that method is created within the app component. Okay? Now to what do we have to do? I know, Mace, you had, light bulb. Let's create it right there. That's awesome. Yashira, what should we do now? I created the method here, and the method needs to go where? Where does it need to go to? I'm going to go back to crimes. Take a look at the crimes. Where does the delete method need to be passed to? Now, there's only two components that we got, right? One's a parent, one's a child. And if the parent needs to pass something, it's passing it to the child. So what component is the app going to pass this method to? No? Okay. It's going to pass it to crimes list. Because crimes list is what's calling it, right? This is crimes list, and it's calling it here. So I'm going to go here to crimes list and pass this thing down, right? We'd pass it down. How do we pass it down?
A property?
Yeah, this would be some sort of property where we pass the thing down as, maybe here's crimes. I'm just going to move it to the next line. And so we can add additional properties like this. And what, I guess the question is, if index has it called delete item, well, then app must pass it down as delete item, right? Because that's what it's called there, and so that's what we need to call it here. And it calls this dot delete item, right? Okay? Now, once again, we're just testing this out. This is just kind of like, let's make sure the thing works. And if I click on this, look, delete button working, delete button working, delete button working, delete button working. Every one of these, the delete button works. Okay? Now, the delete button isn't deleting anything yet, right? Didn't really delete anything. I just clicked on it, and its whole functionality right now was merely just to say delete button is working, right? Just going to create some spaces between these so this stands out, right? So I'll say, delete item method right here, okay? What would, just think of the functionality. If we wanted to remove that element from state, so here's the logic. If you wanted to remove that object, or how about this? You want to remove the element that was clicked on, which is an object in the crimes array. How would you go about doing that? How do you think you'd do that? How do you remove something from an array is the more over-encompassing generic question. How do you remove something from an array?
Splice?
Right, splice removes an array, correct? There's other methods like pop, shift. They remove things from array, but they remove things from specific positions in an array, right? So if I had, let R again, right? So if I did this one more time, I had R, boom, and I did R dot pop, right? R has removed the letter D. If I do R dot shift, R has removed the letter C. So those are ways to remove the first and last element from an array. Well, what if R was A and B, and I wanted to remove, or let R be A, B, and C, and I wanted to remove B. Well, oh, I can't keep doing this, right? So maybe R2 or something here, R1. And I want to remove B. I can't do pop or shift because it'll only target A and C. I can't target B that way. So I would have to do R dot splice. And Chrissy, you said splice, so how would I use it? What do I target here?
The index number.
All right. And B is at index what?
1.
Okay. And just that? Is that alone going to do it?
I guess you have to then say comma 1 because you just want it the one time.
Sure. Let's say. Oh, you know what? R doesn't have it. All right, it's R1. I was supposed to be doing this on R splice 1. And look, R1 now doesn't have B. Okay? That's how you remove something. So, with that logic, if I need, what do I need? What was key to me removing it? What was the thing?
It's index number.
It's index position. Create? Correct. It was its index position. So does that mean that delete item, we need, we need to somehow pass that element's index position to delete item so it can splice it out of the crimes array, right? Does that make sense? Makes sense. I mean, we just did it. Should make sense. We should be able to do this. How do we do this? Right? Well, let's put it this way. If delete item needs to be past something, where do I put that something? How do I refactor line 39 to include something? Any ideas?
Add a prop.
Okay. I'm going to add something very specific because this isn't necessarily the whole passing props down. I'm passing something very specific in here, and I'm going to say I'm passing in the index position. When delete runs, it will know the index position of the element. Okay? Which means in crimes, we need to somehow pass the index position. So if you look at this, line 6, what references the index position here?
The I.
The I. So if I represents the index position, we need to somehow get that index position to delete element. We need to get it here. And so we're going to need to do this. I'm just going to push the on click onto the next line and the button. Yeah, we're just going to do this. I'm going to create a fat arrow here and pass in the element's index position. When you pass in a function into another function, what is that called again? The function that was passed in is called a blank type of function. Begins with a C. Second letter is A. CA. Function passed in as another function, CAL. L.
Call function? Called?
Callback?
Call B.
Callback.
Callback. There you go.
Yeah, who said that?
So you know that, right? By now you should know a function that is passed in into another function is called a callback. And so what happens is this now becomes, the callback just needs to be structured a little differently so that it's not executed when the file is kind of initially parsed through. If we add parens within the curly braces directly to the thing, it automatically runs like this. There's no stopping it. This is a pausing mechanism. Doing it as a callback says, wait till it's clicked, then execute this function. That's the conversation that we're having here. So now, if I go back to app, I'm just going to go back to app, and I see, hey, it's working. I'm going to pass the index here, and let's see if I click 2, 3, right? 3, 4, 5, 0. You see that? It's the magic. And then all you would need to do, splice this thing, and we're done. Okay? Now there's a way to filter. There's a couple of ways to do it. We could splice, but there's another way. So the lecture has it done a second way. So I'm just going to show you this way, where we do crimes, right? Because that's the array. This dot state dot crimes dot filter crime index element and return all elements that is not equal to the index position. Okay, this is a way of using filter. This should work, unless I'm getting some crazy error here. Let me see. Did I not do this right? Did I not do this right? Oh, because there's a space here. Let me see. Parsing console log delete index set state. So it's oh, times filter. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, where I is not equal to index. All right. There's a few ways to do this. This is one way. Okay, the way I was thinking was splice was one other way of doing it. It's the way I would have approached it. Now they get to the lecture, we're doing it this way. So let me take a look. Look, battery's gone, motor vehicle theft, battery, assault, burglary. They're all gone now. If I refresh, they'll all come back because we're making the initial data call, okay? Is that a lot? That was a lot. I always forget just how much needs to be taught, and every tiny little explanation can take us down a road where I have to explain things in greater detail, which I'm happy to do.
Joe, can I see your index file again?
Sure, yeah. The index? I'm also gonna commit this right now too, okay? Git commit added crimes list and delete method git push, okay? Pushing it up. Every change that I made now is there. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Boom. Wow. Afternoon lab. Slack out the lab. You definitely need practice on this. Okay. Now I slacked out the lab, and the lab is, this one's a more basic one. I want to just see if you could do this. And really is you're fetching data, right? This is a taco. So if I was to just copy and paste I would get a taco. That's really it. North Carolina battered catfish taco. I get a bunch of stuff. This is the base layer. I got seasonings. Do I got an image? This is the URL to it. If we wanted to see it, here's the URL. I don't know if there's any images or anything in here. I was hoping maybe there'd be a cool image, but there's no cool image. No biggie, right? But there's a lot. There's this base layer. There's seasoning if you wanted to mix in, if there's shells, if there's condiments. There's 5 keys. All keys have objects, right? Now your goal, you choose to take on said taco, random taco thing, is this. Create a page that's similar to this. Forget about all the CSS. I don't even care about the CSS right now. But can you grab the data and output a taco? Can you do that? And can you do it in 2 components, an app component and a taco component? Okay, the minimum requirement is at least 2 components. Can you give the title of the shell and put the data of the shell? Can you give the title of the mix-in? The mix-in is potato hash. The condiment is salsa verde. And once again, that comes from here. Here is the condiment, right? The name is guacamole, and it's all the stuff here, okay? Condiment is this, and then you have all the data, okay? You can try your hand at like adding them all here if you want to have a list of them. I just really want to see one. If you can do one, that's great. If you want to do a whole list of them, that's awesome. Here's another random thing too. Can you click on here on the little another taco and grab another random taco and output it? So this is a click event. The click event will trigger another API call that will update state that will show the next taco, considering it as a random taco thing, okay? Now, there are 2. If you get that done, that's awesome. There's another one here to grab API weather. You can get API. You got to sign up for a key. We could do this all day. There's so many labs about APIs and pulling data and rendering it. You could put a form in there, capture the form. I really just want to see, just from what I've seen today and how maybe people are struggling with it, I'd be happy if you, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here, if you could just do the taco one. If you could do the taco one, that's great, because I'd love you to do the taco, and then we could like go over the taco lab. I want to see you do something. And if possible, we have time, I can review the lab. Okay? I'm going to just put a poll here. I just want to see something. Everyone's oh, did I not Slack it out? I didn't Slack it out yet. And I Slacked it out to myself. Here we go. There it is. Sorry about that. Poll. Do we feel about the lab? Okay. So I'm going to do can do no problem. Challenging. Okay. Here we go. It is anonymous, so you can do it. I'm not saying. Just let me know how you feel about the lab, how I explained it. Do you think you can do it no problem? Is it going to be challenging, or it just sounds impossible? So you can imagine I'm going for number 2. I'm hoping nobody goes impossible. Can do no problem. Sounds sweet. Love the way that sounds. Awesome. So I'm going to, set you off to do the labs. And I believe everyone does the labs on their own. Is that correct? Or do you go to breakout rooms to do them? Is it random breakout rooms, or is it alone?
Whatever we want.
He usually gives us a poll, and then we either go alone
Sweet.
and we stay
Okay.
here, or if we feel like we want to be in a group, we can volunteer to be in a group.
Okay. Breakout rooms. Okay, yes. No. All right, there we go. You let me know. You say yes, I'll put you in the breakout room, okay? All right, well, seems like it's unanimous. Looks like you can be hitting it alone, Roderick. It's one of these. Okay. That's what you want? Cool. So you're going to be off doing the labs then, okay? I think, how long do you think this would take? What's your assumption? What do you think it would take time-wise? I'm going to say for those that said it's going to be challenging. What does challenging mean? In time.
No more than a week.
What's that? No more than a week. All right. So Mace, what do you think? 30 minutes, 40 minutes? What do you think? I mean, class ends at 5 anyway. I'm not going over an hour today. I'll tell you that. That was a mistake on my part. I read the exit tickets. No one was happy with that. What do you think? 30 minutes? 40 minutes?
45.
Personally, it's going to take, I don't know, I feel like it's going to take me at least an hour.
An hour. Okay, that's good. Once again, I think it will be challenging. I think you do have the previous templates, right? You have what we did today. You have stuff that you did. Don't always just try to like reinvent the wheel. I prefer you type everything out at this stage so that you know how to create things, right? But some things you may just be like, let me copy and paste this thing, this date. Like, I want you to understand. Dustin, what do you think? How long? What's your take? What's Dustin's take? Dustin's like, stop calling on me, man. Brian never calls on anybody. That's not how I roll, Dustin.
If you want to put a poll in at 30 minutes and see how we're doing.
I will do such. I mean, I was planning on doing that anyway.
Oh, sorry
You're
about
right.
that.
I like it. Yeah, I'll take any advice. So, all right, you're off to the races. I will reach out in 30 minutes and get an idea of how everyone's feeling, okay? I'm going to just kind of stop my video, stop video, stop mute, stop recording. We should be good, okay? Sweet. I will jump off. I think in order to do this, I want to make sure that also, let me see, that Brendan Khalib can jump into the breakout rooms to help anyone. So I think what I need to do is to create the breakout rooms regardless, give you your own individual breakout rooms, and then additional breakout rooms so that they can jump in with you. So I will create the breakout rooms, but I won't put anybody in them. Breakout rooms, we have, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, 13 of us. And 14, 15. I'm going to create 15 automatically, do manually, and I will assign Jay, I will assign Brendan, Charles, Dustin, Ace, Paul, Roderick, Tiffany, there we go, Shira, Missy, all right, Quincy, that's really it. I think I got everybody, right? Quincy, awesome. Open all rooms. We're off to the races.